Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Desperate11432 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit and says, am I the arsehole for not going to my mother-in-law's wedding because she is marrying the father of my former bully? I've 24 female, been with my boyfriend 23 male since our freshman year of college. We are planning on marrying as soon as he is done with grad school. I'm going to refer to his mum as my mother-in-law, 42 female because she basically is. I like mother-in-law. She's always been kind to me and she's a great mum. About 2 years ago, she wanted us to meet her boyfriend, Richard, 50-something male. When we walked in, I thought he looked super familiar, but I couldn't place him. He was nice and charming over dinner, and then my boyfriend asked him if he had kids. He told me his daughter's name, and it all made sense why he looked so familiar. His daughter Sadie ruined middle school and high school for me. She was the Regina George of our high school, and she hated me for being a tryhard. She would insult my outfits, my intelligence, my character almost daily. In middle school, she wrote fake notes from me to boys in our grade. High school wasn't as bad since I took a lot of advanced classes, and she did not, but the damage was done. I recognized Richard because he had been called in multiple times by the school, and his response had always been, don't you think it's best to let kids work out their own problems? Sadie just likes to tease people. She has a good heart. One time he did get mad because he had to leave an important business meeting because she was facing suspension for pouring custard on my head, and he told her she wasn't going to Paris with him on a business trip anymore. Sadie began to cry, and then he hugged her and said he was sorry and she could come. Once I realized who Richard was, I wanted nothing to do with him. I told mother-in-law, who said he's a great guy and was just overwhelmed being a single father. He had a housekeeper and a personal assistant. Mother-in-law said I was being too hard on him. As of now, I'll be around Richard begrudgingly but not Sadie. I refuse to spend holidays with mother-in-law. The problem is, she's getting married in October and obviously Sadie is going to be there. My boyfriend asked me to let it go for one night as he doesn't want to attend his mother's wedding alone. He says he understands how awful the bullying was, but this is important to him. Mother-in-law says I need to let it go. She said she was bullied as well and it's part of life. Richard then said there is no way she was bullied. Mother-in-law said she was, and he said, well, did you always look like this? Which makes me think he has zero understanding of how bullying works. As for Sadie, she did apologize, but I felt it was forced. A couple of relevant comments. The first one says, was Sadie's apology recent or when you were kids? Opie says she apologized the first Christmas mother-in-law and Richard were together. A downvoted commenter says, I mean, yeah, you got bullied, but be the bigger person. If she apologized, at least that happened. How do you mean it felt forced? Did she say it in a glum, sulky way? Maybe she's changed her ways. You can't keep going back to the past. I mean, it's in the past and bullying is hard, yeah, and it's tough to forgive and forget. You don't need to do that, but also, if this is important to your boyfriend, then maybe be the bigger person and do it for him. Also, you get along with mother-in-law too, and this is her day, not the bullies, yours or anybody else's. Opie says, she came over all happy-go-lucky and was like, hey, my dad said you had some hard feelings about when we were kids. Sorry if I was an arsehole. I got his personality. Genetics. I really like mother-in-law's name though. They are so good together. And then continued to talk to me like it wasn't a big deal. Another commenter says, mother-in-law is a textbook enabler, and unfortunately so is your boyfriend. In my opinion, this is breakup worthy. Commenter says, my boyfriend isn't enabling anyone. He has no relationship with Sadie and limited relationship with Richard. He wants me to go because it is important to him. If you've been on this channel for a while, you'll know I've told stories of how I was bullied in the past as well. And as someone who was bullied quite badly through school, be the bigger person has always rubbed me the wrong way. It always seems to mean the person who was hurt should make themselves feel uncomfortable so everyone else can move on, right? And let's face it, Richard wasn't some innocent bystander here. He repeatedly minimized his daughter's behavior when OP was a child. Even Sadie's, sorry if I was an arsehole, genetics. That hardly sounds like someone who truly understands damage that they cause, the damage bullying causes. And don't get me wrong, I get why boyfriend wants her at his mum's wedding. Of course you would, it's someone that you love. But OP shouldn't have to prove she's over it by putting herself back around these people if she doesn't want to. If she's uncomfortable doing so, that should simply be enough, and I think boyfriend should understand why. But OP does come in with an update and says, "Wow, I want to thank everyone for the support I got. I was never expecting such empathetic, insightful answers. After reading through all your answers, my boyfriend and I decided it was time to go and sit down with mother-in-law and Richard. I told Richard all of the details of Sadie's bullying, and his excuse was he let her watch too much TV. She claims she watched Mean Girls over and over again when she was young. He said she is the sweetest, most generous person if you get to know her, and he should have made her watch another movie. I told Richard that was a pretty weak excuse. I lived for crime shows as a kid, yet I've never ever wanted to commit a crime. Richard said I have to understand. Sadie's mother left. At this point, I was heated. I told him my father left, and I don't want to hear any more excuses. I want him and mother-in-law to listen. I told her as much as I've always liked her, I will not be attending this wedding or anything involving Sadie. Her apology was not sincere. Hey, my dad said you had some hard feelings when we were kids. Sorry if I was an arsehole. I got his personality. Genetics. I really like mother-in-law's name though, they're so good together. And I have no interest in reliving my trauma. Mother-in-law said I'm under no obligation to go to any social event, but I should understand that I'm going to have a very hard life if I can't let go of the past, and she thinks I need to work on myself and stop thinking about Sadie. At this point, my boyfriend told them to both stop and the conversation was done, and he was backing me 100%. He said Sadie was not only emotionally abusive, but dumping the custard on me was assault. Richard rolled his eyes and muttered something about our generation. Mother-in-law was holding a wine glass and he said, "So if I dumped this wine on you, you would really never speak to me again? Really? You can't just take a shower?" Wow, some people weren't raised right. At this point, I was pissed. I wasn't raised right and mother-in-law knows this. I come from a household of poverty and neglect and then went to school where I was tortured by his daughter. Also, if you want to talk about raised right, there are so many examples I could give of his shitty parenting, letting underage kids drink at his house, buying Sadie a brand new Mercedes when she was in trouble at school every other day, falling for her fake tears every time she got in trouble. Guys, I know this isn't okay, but my boyfriend ended up snatching the wine and pouring it on Richard. I was just in shock. Mother-in-law found that hilariously funny, and we used that as a chance to make our escape. I said I would not be going to their wedding and I will not entertain this conversation again. My boyfriend will be attending the wedding alone and he is 100% supportive. Commenter says to this, "I love that you were strong and brave to tell them how you feel. I love that your boyfriend stood up for you too. I'm sorry that you had to do this to begin with. While I don't love how your mother-in-law reacted with all of this, I definitely feel like Richard is worse. Just my opinion. Don't know them, I could be wrong, but I feel if I was your boyfriend, I still wouldn't love my mother marrying someone like that. Just me?" Opie says he's feeling very torn. He has lost all fondness for Richard, but he does acknowledge she's never really been happy before, and he's annoyed with her but still has a lot of gratitude for all she did as a single mum. Commenter says, "I mean, good for you guys, but this isn't going to end. What if you have children? Mother-in-law will want Sadie around them to be their aunt. Honestly, don't think your mother-in-law as great as you think she is. I mean, I agree with what your boyfriend did, but ask yourself what type of person laughs when wine is poured on their partner. Maybe Sadie likes mother-in-law so much because she is a lot like Sadie." Opie says, "I don't think Sadie would want that. She doesn't like either of us. Mother-in-law and Richard both laugh at everything. Her humor has always been a bit mean-spirited. She lost interest in guys when they couldn't give it back, but she balanced that with being extremely kind and generous. I'm having lots of mixed feelings about her at the moment." Commenter says, "Why does your boyfriend want to attend? He should support you and boycott it too." OP says, "I would never want him to do that. Up until this incident, he never had a single fight with his mum, minus normal teenager not wanting to do homework stuff, and she was an amazing mother. She always put him first and didn't prioritize herself or dating. I don't want him to miss his mum's wedding for anything." Commenter says, "I hope mother-in-law realizes that Richard truly is a dick, pun intended, and that she'll regret marrying him." Opie says it's the main reason she is marrying him. She lost interest in a lot of seemingly nice guys over the years because they weren't funny enough banter and kind of being a dick is a love language. Commenter replies saying, "Just remember, you'll be tied to the bullies for the rest of your life if you marry your partner. He may have stood up for you now, but in the long run, it will go with the flow. After all, he is going to the wedding. Whether you go or not is irrelevant. You have to decide if this is something you can live with. Your partner will attend events that his mother hosts, and yes, he will be socializing with Richard and Sadie. Again, whether you stay away from them is irrelevant. He will be involved with them on some level. Unless he cuts them off, he'll be indirectly involved with them. Him going back and forth isn't sustainable long term. Opie says he hasn't gone to any holiday she's hosted for 2 years, and I have no reason to believe he would start. I want him to go to the wedding. I trust him to uphold our boundaries in the future. Commodore says, if he supported you 100%, he wouldn't be going either. Stand your ground and good luck, Opie. Opie says that isn't what I want. I think that would be horribly sad after all she has done for him. And after this, it broke out with various different discussions of what their future will look like, if he keeps in contact. Not that he should totally break contact with mother, but maybe have some boundaries in place. What if they have children? Who's allowed around the children? Is Sadie going to be allowed around the kids? The family events, etc., etc. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is titled, My Wife is Inexplicably Upset Over Being Unfriended on Facebook. We have been together for 4 years and married for 2. We moved to a small town in the Midwest a few months ago from the West Coast where we are both from. I was offered quite a bit more money and the option to climb the corporate ladder to move to this new location. We both decided that this was going to be good for us as we plan to start a family in a few years after she finishes school. Yesterday, my wife found out a woman she went to high school with had just moved to this small area as well, and that her husband works at my company too. My wife and the girl were not close in high school, but played on the same sports team and had the same friends. So my wife sent the woman a Facebook message asking if she wanted to meet up for coffee, as they're both new to the area. My wife was pretty excited when she saw that the girl had read the message, and my wife eagerly waited for the reply. Well, the girl not only ignored the message, but shortly unfriended my wife. Cue crying. Now my wife is not one to be upset by someone deleting her on Facebook, so this is out of character. Wife and this girl were not even close, so I did not really see what the big deal was. I told her to not let it get to her, and obviously that woman was not very nice. But my wife replied back with tears in her eyes that she just wanted a friend here. That statement stopped me in my tracks. You see, ever since we moved here, my wife has not really been the same. She was bubbly and always looking for a new outdoor adventure. But there really isn't nothing here in the way of outdoor activities, and my wife has become quiet and moody. She seems to have no interest and hardly goes on social media because it makes her sad to see her friends back home going on new hikes without her. She loves being outside and now she only leaves the house to go to work. That's it. I've tried taking her bowling, taking her to different restaurants, to the mall, the movies. I can tell she doesn't enjoy those things, even though she is saying that she is having fun and manages to smile. Whenever I ask what she wants to do, she says she wants to go home and watch TV. My wife hates watching TV. At least she used to. She has not said a negative thing about this place, but I know she hates it, and I think she might be resenting me for it. I offered to send her back home and she can stay with family until my contract is up in 2 years, but she refused, saying it would be bad for our marriage. I do not know how to make it better. I miss my wife. How can I bring the light back into her life? And let's face it, the Facebook thing isn't really the whole point of this post in the end. I mean, that was just something that tipped it over the edge, I think. She's moved across the country, lost her friends, her social circle, lost access to the outdoor lifestyle that it sounds like was a huge part of her identity, of her life, and is now watching her old friends continue that life without her. And it just sounds like she's really down about it. And then suddenly, someone she already knows appears in this small little town, and she's probably thinking, finally somebody. And she reaches out, gets excited, and then rejected. Of course, that is going to bloody hurt. And I would probably start thinking along the lines of how can I cheer her up and just start asking, is living here actually sustainable for us? Because 2 years is a long time when your partner is already this miserable after a few months. Maybe there are outdoor groups within driving distance or clubs or something she can join, volunteering, weekend trips, hiking, just something, or ways to build a social circle. But I'd also be seriously thinking and having a conversation probably whether that extra money and that career advancement is worth what this move is costing them. Because the answer to this might simply be the town just isn't right for her. The commenter says, as someone who also moved from the West Coast to the Midwest, let me just say that it's hard. And it's even harder to make friends as an adult. Recommendations: invite a co-worker and his or her spouse out on a double date. Look into clubs and organizations for her to join or volunteer at. Check Meetup for groups. Take her on a weekend trip somewhere she can have outdoor adventures. Join an adult intramural league. Softball and kickball leagues are both pretty big in my city. And finally, she might just need time. It took me months to adjust and feel like myself, and even longer to actually enjoy living here. A commenter says, yeah, your wife is incredibly depressed. I would be too if I was her after reading this post. I would suggest therapy for her, and not only that, but small weekend long vacations to the mountains once every couple of weeks. Get her back outdoors and in nature. And if you're someone who feels peace and serenity and sometimes even spiritual out in nature, and you've been deprived of that for a while, then it's going to depress you. Some people, like myself, don't want to just go out. We want to go outside. Bowling, movies, dancing, drinking, etc. just cannot compare to hiking, camping, rafting, etc. Make time for her to be in nature. I'm sure there is something within a couple of hours drive of where you are that you can make your spot, and you can visit there every now and then. It'll give us something to look forward to. Another suggestion. She needs friends, any friends. Maybe encourage her to find a new hobby, doing something active where she can meet people with similar interests as herself. The Brit in me was curious how far actually the West Coast to the Midwest is. According to Google, roughly it says 1,500 to 2,000 miles, depending on the start and end cities, of course. And it says like a non-stop drive takes about 27 to 30 hours. Whew. Obviously, flying's optional. Another commenter says, we're in the Midwest. If you guys just recently moved over in the winter, it can be a little depressing, especially if she is used to the West Coast sunshine all year round. Seasonal depression is a real thing. The summers here are gorgeous though. She does need to have some social life though. What about joining a yoga class or a workout class? She will meet like-minded people there. Also, my girlfriend moved to the Midwest with me and had a similar problem with friends. She downloaded Bumble, and there is a setting that allows to search for BFF. It sounds stupid, but she's met a few friends on there. So it was around 9 days later that OP came in with her update and says, I 26 male have not told my wife 24 female of 2 years about the post, but it got a lot of attention. Much more than expected, and I got quite a few PMs regarding it. Thank you everyone for your input, though I did not reply to many. I read it all and it was very helpful. I do not believe she is depressed, just homesick and still adjusting. I'll keep an eye on her, but I have no intention of drugging her up like so many suggested. I want to address some things first. When I used the term inexplicable, it was to point out that only at first did I not understand why the Facebook incident was a big deal. But once she explained that she wanted a friend, I understood, hence coming to you guys for advice. Contrary to what some of you may think, I do not belittle my wife's feelings or talk down to her. Yes, I did not understand why being unfriended was upsetting, but I did not intend to invalidate her feelings. Also, I'm not very outdoorsy. I'm more of a video gamey guy, so I guess I truly did not understand how important it was for her to be outdoors and how silly it was for me to take her bowling and to the mall. I did mention in the comments that she had already checked meetup.com, but in the area, there really is not much happening on Meetup, and she is not comfortable starting a group herself. As for the suggestions about getting a dog, well, we already have one. Our dog is her little hiking buddy, and she even used to take the dog paddleboarding and stuff. The hiking that is nearby is nothing like the West Coast. It is just not the same and, in my opinion, might be a step down for her. However, it is what we have to work with and I guarantee that we'll make the most of it and learn to love the differences. I did some research about the nearby area and found a small lake not too far from my house, so after dinner one day, I took her that way and told her it was just a different route home. When I parked the car and she realized we were sitting at a lake, her face just lit up. She didn't even wait for me to get out of the car before she was running down a dock. We saw some small turtles and she took photos because she thought they were cute. Unfortunately, we cannot fish at this one, but we were able to sit on a bench and watch the sky get darker. It was not very spectacular as far as lakes go, but she loved it. She also downloaded the app Bumble that quite a few of you mentioned to me. She used the BFF section and has already started texting a few girls who live close and will be meeting one this weekend at a carnival. She asked me to come and make sure this is legit. She's very optimistic, so hopefully that goes well. I got her to look into some yoga classes and she has gone to 2 so far. She has a few acquaintances in that class and seems excited when she goes. I believe the workout is helping her feel better as well. She was very active before, so this is good for her soul too. This weekend I'll be taking her on another surprise trip to a local skate park where we can sup on a river and take the dog on some trails. It won't be like back home, but it's the best thing that's around here. After the hike, we'll go strawberry picking. I hate strawberries, but she likes picking fruit for some reason. I hope she likes it. I talked to her best friend back home, and her friend is going to try and come out during the summer for a week, and they're going to another part of the state where the hiking is supposed to be spectacular. She's really looking forward to it, so I hope her best friend can get the time off to do so. I'm thinking of saving some money up in the meantime to take her on a weekend trip in the next few months so that I can keep her spirits up. We work opposite hours, so it's hard to find time to do these things, as the outdoor activities tend to be kind of far and require a longer car ride. I believe with a little bit of help, she will feel more comfortable venturing out on her own and finding areas she enjoys around here. I think the gravity of the situation just made her negative, and she did not bother to look around. So far, she seems happier and better adjusted. Thanks, Reddit. And it seems the majority of the comments after this one says a pretty wholesome update. A couple picking up on the whole drug interrupt comment in there as well. But what are your thoughts on this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from a live kick from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit and their own page as well. It says, am I the arsehole for how I responded to my sister's pregnancy announcement? I, female 18, have a sister, female 38, who we will call Kay for privacy reasons. Kay has 4 children with her husband. 3 female, 8 female, 2 female, 11 female. Kay is a stay-at-home mum, and her husband works in air conditioning. Kay and her husband come over with their kids on his time off to tell her something. She said that they are pregnant with their 5th child. My mum was overjoyed and I wasn't really paying attention. I was focusing on the TV. Then my sister says, so what do you think about the news? I said, cool, awesome. Then my sister says, just cool, you don't seem that excited for me. And I said, well, what do you want me to do, jump up and down and scream my head off? I can see if this was like your first child that you're expecting, like a first time mother moment. But you got 4 kids and your 5th pregnancy by this time, you get used to it. Was this baby really hard to conceive? Like, was it hard to get pregnant? And Kay said, no, it just happened. I took the test a week ago. And I said, okay then, so at a certain point, after fight number 3, people's reactions are not going to be that enthusiastic as if you was expecting with your first. Kay said, I thought you'd be happy for me. And I was like, I am, but it's not that it says expecting, but it might be exciting for me since you've been pregnant before. She got mad and left with her husband and kids and did not stay for dinner. My mum thinks I should apologize to Kay for not being excited about her pregnancy announcing. So, Reddit, am I the arsehole? Edit. I just want to clarify that this 5th baby was not a baby that was hard to conceive, or they had been trying and wanting a 5th baby. It just happened. Edit 2. Have been financially supporting her other kids, giving her money and food constantly and babysitting her kids so she can go out every weekend to hang out with friends. I did not add it to my original post because that was not what I was focusing on. I wanted opinions on my reaction to the announcement, not me financially supporting her kids. I could have added that, but I did not go over the character limit. That's why I made an update on my profile. Sorry for the confusion. First commenter says not the arsehole. I think it's weird people expect a big deal to be made out of it. Cool, you had sex and now you're cooking baby number 5. Whatever. Commenter says, good lord. Why is it such a terrible burden to be happy about the things that make someone you love happy? Are only firstborn children worth celebrating? Is a child less valuable because their mother doesn't struggle with infertility? You're not the arsehole for not being overly effusive, but your speech about why baby is no big deal to you puts you in the you're the arsehole territory. Commenter says, I'm going with not the arsehole. You're 19 and they're on their 5th kid. Who would expect the teenager to be overly joyous at this point? You told her that you were happy and that should have been good enough. I don't know why people think others should be jumping through the roof at this point, especially someone your age. A commenter who was downvoted says, you know you're the arsehole for being rude. That's the kind of shit you're welcome to think in your head, but you don't say out loud to your sister for fuck's sake. I mean, I'm with you. It's a vagina, not a clown car. And 5 kids. The earth weeps. But still, don't be mean to your sister. Opie says, I was not rude. I said, oh cool, that's awesome. And then gave a quick smile and went back to the TV. She's expecting me to react like my mother, like jump up and down and be like, oh my god. The commenter who replied out downvoted says, it's what you followed up with that was the problem. Opie says, if you expect someone to respond a different way to you, then you don't like. I don't know what you want me to do. I felt like I was nice the first time until she pushed me like she wanted me to change my reaction. Commenter says, soft you're the arsehole. All you had to do was smile and say congratulations. She didn't need the whole monologue about how you really feel. Opie says I did smile, and she wanted me to be like, oh my god, wow. Oh, who's the actor who always does the wow thing? Just popped into my head. Wow. I'm going off. Commenter says she wanted you to stop watching TV for 30 seconds and engage with her. I understand, that's so difficult to do. Opie replied saying, yeah, because I want to babysit this kid and give them one constantly like I do the other kids, while she goes on weekends and parties with her friends. Commenter says, not the arsehole, but you could have told her nicer unless you have to do something for her as a sister. Most likely helping with the kids. If it's true, I totally get your reaction. Opie replied saying, I did tell her nice. I was like, oh, cool, and smiled. Commenter replied saying, yeah, I don't know why I can't picture that, maybe because I hate children, and pregnancy news is never good news for me. Opie says, yeah, see what you mean, I don't like kids either. My older two nieces are rude all the time, and that's why I don't want any. But if I was like she was expecting her first kid, then the reaction would have been different. Because she is expecting the first child, people tend to feel more overjoyed at that time, if that makes sense. Commenter says, yes, you're the arsehole, what the fuck? Do you hate your sister or something? You were very rude. Opie says we're not close and we barely talk to each other. She only talks to us if she drops the kids off to us to watch or if it's asking us for money for the kids. Commenter says, it's okay to not be overly excited, but being incapable of giving someone a minute of your undivided attention to share some news that is important to them is rude. If the end goal was to make someone feel unimportant, congrats. You're so coolly indifferent that it appears you just don't even care about the people in your life at all. Sometimes we're excited for people, even if we aren't personally excited about any one specific happening. Do you think all of your milestones were particularly noteworthy? You're the arsehole. Opie replies saying, we're not close. We text, but we're not close. She has been depending on mostly me to give her stuff like food and clothes as well as babysitting for those kids. She will constantly ask me, I need your food stamps card so I can go out and buy food. And I need money for clothes, and I give them to her because those are my nieces and nephews, and you think she congratulated me for anything? You think I've gotten thanks from her when I gave her money and food and watched her kids? Nada. She drops her kids off and goes out to have fun with her friends while I'm at home watching her kids. I've given her kids money, food, constantly, and I could have been like, stop having kids to her face, but I said cool, smiled and went back to what I was doing. Yeah, you're right. I don't care about the people in my life because they walk all over me and treat me like shit. One more commenter says, just wondering, have you been financially supporting her and her kids? Opie says, I'll give her some of the food and meats and canned goods we get if we have a lot, and I will give them to her. If me and my mum cooks, I will make her a plate for her and her kids and send it to their house. I get SSI checks and I will give her some money for the kids, and I do online surveys and get paid. I'm not working at the moment due to other problems. I would go to BJ's or Sam Clubs and buy snacks the kids would like. I'd watch them while she goes out. That's how I support her and her kids. Opie comes in with a final update but says not really an update but more info. I just wanted to add some stuff and information that I felt like I should have added. I wanted to clarify some things. When my sister said she was pregnant, it was not really an announcement. She was talking to mum and my mum was like, oh my god, congratulations. And I heard, but I was zoned into the TV to respond at first. And when Kay was like, oh, what do you think? I responded, cool, awesome, and smiled and went back to the TV show I was watching. And she got mad that I didn't respond the way she wanted me to and left. Me and her have never been close since I was 7. She was gone and out of the house. The only time I would see her is if she was to drop off the kids for the weekend so she can go out and my mum or I can watch the kids. I didn't because the kids really didn't cause that much trouble. They would just sit and watch TV and sometimes they would spend the night and sometimes they didn't. My response was not meant to come off as rude, but at the same time, Kay before was asking me and my mum for some money and food for the kids and I was like, where is the money going? Are you all financially stable? And she was like, yeah, we just ran out of this and that. And me and my mum gave it to her. I'm not sure if she is buying the kids food and spending the money on other things. I don't know if her husband's checks are not going towards the house and them. And I kept buying kids stuff if they need it because if a child is hungry, I'm going to feed them. I was annoyed because it's like, bro, you are struggling to take care of your other kids and dropping them off at my mum's house. I can't with them. When can you go out and make more money for the kids instead of asking me for it? I didn't want to respond with, baby number 5, you can't take care of your other kids. But I responded the best way I could, even though annoyed that a baby is going to come into this world and my sister does not have her shit together and I've tried everything and she refused help from me. I can't keep helping people. I just can't. Update. Kay called me today and was like, I'm sorry for how I reacted. I just thought if people were happy, then I'd be happy for this baby. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. My brother-in-law is not barely making anything. And I told her straight up, you need to go out and look for a job and bring more money in for these kids and try the best you can. Because I know you love your kids, even though we're not close like that. But when you sometimes be at our house, I can see that you love your kids. You just need to get your shit together because mum and me can't keep helping you out. I can do it sometimes, but not all the time. Until then, start looking for part-time jobs, daycare for the little one. And she responded with, yeah, I need to get this sorted out and help myself and the kids. I'm going to look for some part-time jobs. And I was like, yeah, start doing that. And if you're willing to change, I can watch the kids while you work. She responded with thanks, and she hung up her phone. I really hope everything gets on track and they are financially stable. One commenter said to OP, I could tell by your tone in the previous post that this was the issue. Seen it a million times. Happened to me. Family has one kid, spoiled. Can't say anything to them about his bad behavior or complain about his parents. Or everyone gets mad at me and cold shoulders me. Hitting dogs and just doing everything unpunished. A spoiled kid does at times. But God forbid I tell him to knock it off or eat dinner before begging grandma for sweets. I can't be irritated that they drop their kid off and watch them tell him, we'll pick you up later, and you don't see or hear from them in days. So no, I wasn't jumping around in joy when they decided to make another one. I've been very vocal that they cannot treat this one like the first. Don't even get me started on my broke cousin wanting to keep having kids until he gets a girl. Resentment will build up, and when you find yourself constantly giving more of yourself, your time, your money away to irresponsible people, hard to be happy for someone when they frequently burden you with their choices. Your sis knows she can't handle any more kids. She lashed out at you for basically feeling the same as she was, but you were free to be open about it. She's not happy having this baby. I'd keep an eye out for her having a bad case of PPD, because if she's already unhappy, it's not going to get better without solid support. The best way to support them is after the kid is born is to get them to get fixed. Both of them. Hope says you're right. I was thinking about taking her to some job interviews and have her apply to food stamps if groceries get too low and they need some backup. Now I had a feeling there was going to be some underlying context somewhere along the way, and it completely changed the story, doesn't it really? OP wasn't just hearing baby number 5, she was hearing there's another child that I'm probably going to be expected to feed, fund and babysit. At 18 years old, she was already helping support a 38-year-old sister and their 4 children, which completely changes the whole cool, awesome response. When in her head, she's probably thinking, for fuck's sake. But what are your thoughts on this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it is absolutely amazing. And hopefully, I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.